I have the pleasure to introduce to you an incredible lady in this great organization. She is the Director of Technical Services and Support at the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Together with you, and with loud applause, welcome Peninah Aheebwa to the stage. Did you hear the part where I said applause? Penny, you're most welcome. She will be sharing with us a presentation on promoting national content and opportunities for SMEs in the oil and gas sector post the final investment decision signing. That is Peninah over there.
Thank you so much, the moderator, for that kind introduction of who Peninah Aheebwa is. As introduced, I'm Peninah Aheebwa, once again, Director of Technical Support Services within the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. But today, I'm standing in the shoes of Mr. Ernest Ruwondo, the Executive Director of the PAU, who would have liked to stand here and speak to you passionately. I hope I'll be able to fit in those shoes today. And I'm not here alone. We have a number of representatives in the room from the PAU, but also a number of them participating virtually. So I would like to request my colleagues in the audience to maybe stand up for recognition. Okay. As PAU, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, we want to appreciate the organizers of this event, especially Stanbic Bank and UNOC and your partners. It's really timely, unique, so we appreciate you and for involving us. We don't take it for granted. We also want to thank the participants. It has been well attended, and we want to applaud the SMEs that have taken it up. I participated virtually yesterday, and I could see the numbers were going to around 200. That is very good. We applaud you, and we encourage you to take advantage of all these dialogues, because information is power. The only way you're going to know what is required, how you need to prepare, is to keep engaging in these dialogues. So we applaud you for that. I don't know if the presentation has been put up. Yes. We were asked as PAU to talk about our role in promoting national content and the opportunities we see for SMEs post the FID in the oil and gas sector. So I'll briefly, I'm not Ernest Ruwondo, like I said, I'm doing it on his behalf. So briefly, okay, that's the outline, just a brief introduction. Of course, you've heard all this over and over again, but we want to emphasize so that at the end of the day, there will be no one to say, I didn't hear, I didn't know, and so on. So it's an emphasis. We'll have a short introduction, mainly PAU and so on, the status of the sector, the objectives of regulation, the tools that we have to give you confidence as SMEs that actually the systems are working. Because some Ugandans are saying, no, this is for just a few. So we want to rebuild the confidence in the systems and to share. I know you've heard about the opportunities already, but perhaps I'll bring them in a different perspective. So we'll also share the opportunities we see as PAU for the FID and conclude. So for those who are interfacing with the PAU for the first time, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda were established as a statutory body under Section 9 of the Petroleum Exploration, Development and Production Act of 2013. We've been in existence since 2015, and we are now over close to 200 staff in total. Our mandate is to regulate and monitor exploration, development and production, together with the refining, gas conversion, transport, and storage of petroleum in Uganda. I know UNOC must have explained the petroleum value chain. UNOC must have explained the petroleum value chain. So when you look at that mandate, our scope is on the upstream and the midstream segments of the petroleum value chain. Our mission is to regulate and monitor the sector in order to create lasting value for society and to contribute to Uganda being a sound investment destination. We aspire to be the leading petroleum regulatory agency, not only in Uganda or Africa, but globally. That's why we left it general. Next slide, please. I don't have the cursor, the mouse. Again, just to re-echo some of what previous speakers have already indicated, we have 21 discoveries in the country, an outstanding drilling success rate of 88%, and 6.5 billion barrels of oil initially in place, out of which 1.4 is expected to be recovered. I'm also sure you know, but just to remind you that we have 9 production licenses that have been issued over 14 fields to mainly CNOOC, Total, and UNOC as a non-operating partner. We have 3 exploration licenses. 2 are being operated by Oranto over the Ngasa field down in the south, the Albertine Graben. I'm very sure you have seen that as well. And then 1 to AMA Energy of Australia, who is operating the Kaiwantara exploration area, also down in the south of the Albertine Graben. 5 blocks are on offer in the second licensing round that is being concluded by the ministry. We hope for the best, that we'll be able to license out more blocks, because over 85% of the most prospective basin, which is the Albertine Graben, is still not licensed. And I'm very sure the ministry is working on a strategy to make sure that unlicensed area is licensed as quickly as possible, and we do aggressive exploration as quickly as possible, given the risk of the energy transition, so we can be able to exploit all our resources as quickly as we can. In terms of the development projects, we have 2 upstream development projects, as you know, and these are planned to produce at peak 230,000 barrels of oil per day, and that is going to be contributed to by Tilenga project, which is run by Total, at 190,000 barrels per day at peak. The peak is around 5 years or less, and then Kingfisher will contribute around 40,000 barrels per day. The peak is also around 5 or less years. In terms of the midstream projects, or the projects we call the commercialization projects, you've heard of the ECOP, which will enable us to access the international market for our crude, and then the refinery with a capacity of 60,000 barrels per day, which will enable us to add value to our crude and meet our demand for petroleum products in Uganda and the nearby areas in West Africa. Just in a nutshell, to summarize the projects and the companies that we are regulating as PAU, across the value chain, under the upstream, as you can see, we have 2 main categories of projects. Those under exploration and appraisal, like I said, which are being operated by AMA and Oranto. And then another category, which is under development and production, which are being operated by CNOOC, Total, and UNOC as a non-operating partner. And then under the midstream, the 2 projects, the refinery and the ECOP. The ECOP, as you can see, it has TPDC as a partner as well, and then the refinery with the Albertine Graben Refinery Consortium with many companies there. On the midstream, I'm sure it was explained, that is regulated under the ministry, but it involves distribution, sales and marketing of petroleum products, those that have already been refined. So in a nutshell, you can see if you combine the investment expected in the upstream and midstream, it goes to a range of 15 to 20 billion. And that calls for stringent and strong regulation, because those are not usual numbers in terms of expenditure. We also wanted to give you a feel of the kinds of contractors, tier 1 contractors that we have been able to attract because of the magnitude of the projects. At licensee level, again, we have seen a trend in terms of the size of the companies we have been able to attract. I think in exploration, we were working with million-dollar companies in terms of market capitalization, but that trend has shifted. The companies we have as licensees now are multi-billion companies in terms of market cap. So that calls for even stronger regulation, or, I don't know what to say, but to match the kind of companies that we are working with. Equally, the tier 1 contractors, as you can see, we have the best in the industry, in the oil and gas service industry, the likes of McDermott, Schlumberger, and so on. These are very, very important companies in the industry, and I'm very sure they also want to protect their name, so we expect, and they are compliant. So they should be able to be compliant as far as employment and recruitment, plus utilization of goods and services within the country. That was just to give you a feel of the kinds of contractors that we have at tier 1. Just a little bit again to give you a feel of our focus areas as a regulator that we are mandated to look into. One of them is resource management. Of course, without this resource and without managing it well, we wouldn't even be here talking about how SMEs can participate. So the first priority is ensuring that we optimize recovery of the oil and gas resources that have been recovered and then discovered, and then ensure that the reservoirs are well managed, because once you don't manage the reservoir well, the productivity will not be as expected. So our first priority is resource management, and then commercialization to make sure there is value added, but also we access the international market through the pipeline. Then the other one is cost monitoring and financial analysis to make sure the operations are cost efficient and the projects are profitable and government is securing a fair share from the proceeds coming out of the sector. The other key priority area is petroleum data management. I'm very sure you know that data is almost everything in the oil and gas sector, and the PAU is the custodian of that data. We're working on systems, tools to make sure we get this data in real time, because it means a lot, including ensuring this country secures its fair share out of the sector. The other key area is safety, social and environment management. Of course, as you know, we are working with other agencies to make sure the oil and gas sector coexists with biodiversity, but also ensuring the operations are safe. The other key area, which is the subject for, I think, yesterday and today's national content development. And so we are there to make sure we secure employment for Ugandans that have been trained. We secure capacity building and technology transfer, but also linkages, as I will be explaining later on. The other key area is stakeholder engagement. because we want to have everyone on board, and so we involve ourselves in internal and external communications to make sure everyone is aware. And good enough, we have been able to partner with the private sector to help us in this awareness creation, including Stanbic Bank. Our feeling is that the private people, in most cases, they will appreciate the message better if it is coming from a fellow private player. And that's why we appreciate Stanbic for this event. We are very sure these SMEs will believe better than we have been speaking all along. Going on to the key subject matter for the dialogue, which is national content, we just want to first answer some few questions. Why regulate national content? Shouldn't it be an obvious thing that when you go in a country, you should ensure what you're able to get from that country, you should get it from there. Why do we even have to, bother? But we have looked around the industry, different countries that have been into production before us, and we can tell you that national content has not come on a silver platter. Those countries were deliberate and intentional to make sure they regulate and make sure they retain value and create value within their countries out of the sector. So some of the reasons why we are into national content regulation are to achieving country value creation and retention, while ensuring competitiveness, efficiency, and effectiveness. We will not implement, I would say, protectionism, but it will come in if we know we have the competency, because we do not want to stifle growth in our SMEs, and that's why we are saying we want to ensure country value creation and retention, but while ensuring there's competitiveness, efficiency, and effectiveness. We also want to ensure that national human capital development in the oil and gas related disciplines is built, because this sector is going to be around for quite a long time. And we don't want to have the kind of expatriates we have now 10 years down the road. So we are into human capital development, and then to develop the competitiveness of Ugandan enterprises to supply the sector. I'm very sure we learn more by doing. So we want to ensure if there's something we can do, we should be able to do it, because that way we develop our capacity and we become more competitive. So in terms of definition, given those objectives, you will find national content defined differently in different jurisdictions, but in Uganda we define national content as value added or created in the Ugandan economy through the employment of Ugandan workers and the use of goods produced or available in Uganda and services provided by Ugandan citizens and enterprises. So given that definition, our key pillars for national content or focus areas are employment of Ugandan citizens, capacity building, enterprise development, use of locally produced goods and services, transfer of knowledge and technology. We are happy to hear if there is any element you think is missing. Otherwise, those are the focus areas as we monitor and regulate for national content. Again, like I said at the beginning, the intention is also, yes, to show you what is available, but also to build confidence in you, in the systems. The authority is well empowered through the regulatory system to make sure national content is achieved. So I wanted to share a few regulatory tools that we have. I'll not go through the entire list, but just a few. For example, underutilization of Ugandan goods and services. And then for contracts whose values are above 100,000 US dollars, they're supposed to be approved before they are awarded. So even there we'll look out if it's a reference service, whom are they awarding it to? Is it a Ugandan? And we have a way to know this is a Ugandan or this is not, using the national supplier database. It has been handy in that. because you cannot procure outside of the NSD. So if you bring for us a supplier who is not on the NSD, that will not be approved. And if maybe the supplier is on the NSD but is not a Ugandan and the service you are awarding is a ring-fenced one, that will also not be cleared. If you risk and proceed on your own, you can be sure that money will not be recovered. So we are empowered, especially on utilization of goods and services provided by Ugandans or produced in Uganda. In terms of employment, again, the entry point is the work program and budget, but also we look at the recruitment plans, the IOCs, what kind of positions have they earmarked for Ugandans, but also the principle is that you cannot earmark a position for an expatriate unless you have tested the market. So the other catching point is they cannot get a work permit from the Ministry of Internal Affairs unless they have a recommendation from the PAU. And for you to get that recommendation, you should have produced a report showing that there was no Ugandan competent enough to do that job. The other key aspect is even when we recommend you for a work permit, we expect that we will have a succession plan for that position, expatriate position. If the work permit is 2 years, we will work with you to work out a training plan for people who are going to understudy the expatriate, and by the end of the 2 years or so, we should be able to nationalize that position. We have a booklet where we have taken stock of everyone that has so far supplied the oil and gas sector, and as you continue getting there, you'll be entering that booklet. So we have also registered some very good joint ventures. I'll just mention a few that are listed in that table in the corner, including Geotech Solutions Limited with Geo2X, New Plan, ICS, and Wally Parsons on the ECOP side. So there are quite a number of joint ventures that are really meaningful that we have seen come up. So we'd encourage you to look out for these JVs. And potential partners are there on the NSD, and you can all access that information on the NSD. Maybe one more slide on the achievements on the employment side. On the employment side, there are strides also being made. Uganda nationals directly employed by the oil companies to date stand at 81%, with 59 at management, 75 technical, and all the support staff, 100% are Ugandans. So we don't just look at the numbers, but we also look at what levels are our Ugandans, being placed in the structure of the company, because it matters. We can't just stay in the lower level of the jobs. Again, the UNOC TR has been a success factor. Right now we have over 5,000 Ugandans registered there. The call is on for all our sisters and brothers to register if you have a skill you think can be utilized. And we have 120 companies as potential employers registered on the UNOC TR. So as an SME, even if you're on the NSP, we call upon you to also try and register on the UNOC TR. It's not a lengthy process. We just reach out if you have a challenge. Again, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, over 4,000 Ugandans have been trained in different aspects of the oil and gas sector. And then through the quarterly skills development dialogues that the PAU has been running, we were able to form the Oil and Gas Trainers Association of Uganda, the OCTAO. And this is a platform to coordinate and advocate for skills development in the sector. If you're trainers here, I would encourage you to join the association so you can have a bigger voice to advocate and negotiate for more opportunities. Okay, before I go into the opportunities we see as PAU, I thought I would elaborate a little bit more on the drivers. Because again, some people's mindsets need to be changed. There are people who say, wow, those things are not there. But what we're talking about is really factual. These are the key drivers for the opportunities that I'm going to talk about later on. Like I said, we are not only focusing on the development phase, but there are also projects in the exploration phase that I talked about. And we expect significant opportunities in there. For the new exploration projects, we expect opportunities until 2024. By then, we are sure they will have drilled and would have known whether there are discoveries or not. But before that happens, there are activities, there are opportunities there as well. You've heard of companies that are already into G&G studies, so those will be significant in that. And then the second licensing round, we expect activities will be between 2022 and 2026. In terms of the development phase, the key drivers are the fact that most of the agreements have been concluded, most of the major contracts have been cleared, and I think you heard yesterday, internally the companies have taken FID. It's just a formality that is waiting to announce, but people are mobilizing into the country and so on. And the commencement of the construction phase that is expected to last for 4 years. 4 years is is a long time for you to transform yourself because of the opportunities that are in those years. Then we expect, and I'll tell you more about the impact of these camps. We expect camps of 11,000 to 15,000 packs to be constructed. That means a lot in terms of different aspects, as I will explain later. Then we expect over 100,000 people to be directly working on the project. But also there are people who are going to be pushed into either the country or the region, over 1 million people, and that means increase in demand for the different things that we produce and supply. Then the necessary infrastructure really that you need to supply has been put in place, whether you want to access the international market or the region. The airport is being concluded, roads and power, all the utilities are being put in place. So we will not have any excuse, I imagine. But again, post-production, it's a long period for the development projects. It's a long period. The opportunities may reduce, but like I said, perhaps post-construction for these development projects may mean the other projects under exploration will be entering into the development phase. So we may not really reduce so much in terms of opportunities because we have projects in different stages. So those are the drivers, and as you can see, they are real. So the opportunities we are talking about are real. So in terms of opportunities, we see opportunities under capacity building, quite a number. Those that are being run by the development partners, especially GIZ and Stanbic Bank. You need to grab these opportunities and get trained and certified. For example, GIZ is running programs to certify SMEs for ISO, I think 1900 something, and so on and so forth. Some of those certifications that are really required by the oil and gas sector. So you need to take advantage. I know they advertise. Don't just look on, take advantage of the opportunities. There are other initiatives under the Ministry of Agriculture for those who are farmers. There's a very good, they call it a financing facility for people who are into farming. That would be very good for you. I must say it's real because personally I'm also a farmer and I have taken advantage of it. So it's real. If you're constrained financially and you're into farming, There are a number of things actually to bail you out, including that credit facility for farmers that is under the Bank of Uganda. Then, like I said, we are implementing a $500,000 project funded by the African Development Bank, where 200 SMEs will be capacity built in a number of areas. Of course, it's going to be, the selection will be done in a transparent manner. You need to look out for that opportunity as well. My next slide is okay, my next slide is mainly on employment and skills development. For those that are into training and skills development, but also for those who would, love to be employed by the sector. So this came through a study. Over 17,000 people will be required directly on the project, but these are at different levels of training. But majority of them are in the category of, drivers, welders, scaffolding, technicians, and so on. So we have seen, as long as they are certified internationally, and we have seen trainers come into the country and those within the country grab the opportunity. I can just cite a few: Sunmaker, Solid Rock. So if you're there and you're a Ugandan SME, this is an opportunity for you to grab if you're into training and skills development. The numbers, I'm very sure, can make a business case. And these were done way before, when we didn't have enough information on the project, and they're being reviewed, but they can only be higher than what we have here. So there's a business case to venture into training and skills development, as long as it has a component of international certification. Again, in terms of skills development, more opportunities. I just tried to highlight a few trainers who are accredited for different certifications internationally and what they are doing. And you can see it's just a handful of them. So there is still room. This is to encourage you. If you're in that space, I think you need to get serious. There's a business case for it. Government and the private partners that we have been able right now to certify over 4,000 technicians. But of course, like I said, this is like a drop in an ocean, and we could be getting late, but it's better late than never. So it's another another opportunity that we would like to highlight for you to venture into if you haven't thought about it. The other big area is the area of sectoral linkages. Like I said, those camps that we talked about, but not only those camps, the people that we expect to move into the area, they will require food, they will require good health care facilities, transport, housing, mention it. And this is, I would say, another area that if we are into health, right now as PAU with our partners like Private Sector Foundation, we are working on a study to define the exact gap in healthcare services within the region, but also within the country, and try to promote those investment opportunities, but also implore government to try and bridge the gap. So there are opportunities under health for medical emergency response services, provision of on-site clinics, personnel medical insurance, occupational health services, among others. On transport, freight, there will be a lot of subcontracting, logistics and haulage, provision of specialized transport for staff and so on. Under agriculture, quite a number. Then under housing, of course, like I said, not everyone is going to sleep in the camp. Some of them will be looking out for high-class apartments, but also there are service companies that would like to set up offices within the operational areas. So that is another area to provide warehousing facilities and office spaces and housing. Tourism as well, we have partners where we want to define, to take advantage of, first of all, the infrastructure, the people who are coming. We don't want this infrastructure to turn out to be white elephants at the decline of the activities or the production in the oil and gas sector. We would like, for example, the airport to continue running as if nothing has changed, if you have really boosted your tourism during this period. So we have partners there. If you're into tourism, this is a time to boost either your facility, whatever it is that you're offering. This is the time. Under civil works, again, I'll talk about it a little bit more, but quite a number of things that, and civil works is one of the services that is ring-fenced for Ugandans, but quite a number of opportunities like earth moving and lifting equipment, mechanical and electrical equipment, among others, that we can be subcontracted to provide. Okay, I'm almost ending, but just again to give you a feel of, for example, you as a farmer, I know we talked about it yesterday a little bit. Some of these requirements, no single farmer can do them, and that's why we need to look out for corporations or associations or grouping so we are able to meet the demand. I just highlighted this slide to show you the kind of demand for a 5,000 packs camp on a monthly basis. Just highlight a few. It will require, for example, 23,000 trays of eggs, just 5,000 packs camp, and we are talking of 15,000 packs. So quite big demand, which requires organization, but also improving of standards, and good enough, we now have the incubator that can help us on improving our standards. Otherwise, there's a business case to venture into provision of agricultural products. And all you need to do is group up to assure sustainability in terms of supply, and then to assure quality. I'm concluding. Okay, one last one, again, for those into farming. There's the Agriculture Development Program. Look out for those opportunities for smallholder farmers. And again, this is an area we are considering in our community content strategy. We believe to benefit the project, but also the communities, some of these foodstuffs need to be coming from the community. So we also have a strategy for community content and some of the things that we are doing to make sure some of these products come from the communities, working with the IOCs to do the Agriculture Development Program to enable the farmers, enhance their capacities, but also their standards. That we anticipate will promote market-oriented production and ability to engage in other markets. We appreciate the incubator. I think it's doing a lot to ensure this strategy is implemented. Community content, some things coming from the community. And then the Kabale International Airport, I think, will go a long way in enhancing the communities that we are working in. That is if we help them to build capacity. And if you hear you're actually coming from the communities, it's a great opportunity that has come to that community. And I don't see it happening anywhere else in Uganda. So we need to grab it, organize ourselves, improve our capacity, but also the standard, to take advantage of the oil and gas, but also the international market. Don't say, oh, the oil and gas is only here for 3 years. The peak period is only 3 years. What will happen after? We can access the international market if you have built your standards or improved your standards. Okay, maybe lastly, in terms of community content, just to give you a feel of some of the things we are putting in place, or we have ensured have been put in place to have meaningful community content. The supplier engagements are now taken down to the communities. Training and certification has also been taken down to the communities. I can tell you we have a good school there, St. Simon's, and TAS or QSOSing has also gone established in Hoima. We have Sea Oil in Hoima, so training has been taken to the community. We also have Solid Rock there, and some of the things we think should be ring-fenced for the communities are the lower level skilled people, the lower level skilled people. We can't say non-skilled, but because at least you should have some HSE training in a way. So for some of the jobs, I think they will be ring-fenced, unless if there is no capacity, they will be ring-fenced, or they will be coming from the communities where the projects are. There are also scholarships mainly for people coming from the projects, but also those at national level, but mainly for those coming from the community. Quite a number of things, but in the interest of time, I'll just highlight those and conclude. In conclusion, as PAU, we see the benefits coming through employment, supply of works, goods and services to the project, and the frameworks like the NSD have been put in place to increase the visibility of competent Ugandans to participate in the opportunities that we see. Ugandans are encouraged to embrace partnerships with the foreign players to break barriers of financial and technical capacity, among others. In addition, the development phase comes with enormous opportunities to benefit Ugandans and the Ugandan community. I think we have tried to demonstrate that. I'm very sure everyone will go away convinced that the opportunities are enormous. And if we build our capacity, we'll all be able to benefit. The project benefits are also coming through linkages, like I said, with other sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, housing, and health. A number of areas of goods and services provision have been ring-fenced, like we have seen. Those are just the low-hanging fruits, but don't limit yourself to that category only. We want to urge you to visit our website regularly, if you can, for these opportunities, because we also upload the procurement plans, the expressions of interest. If you have missed it in the papers, you're able to get it on our website, but also the websites of the operators. Thank you so much. I know it was lengthy, but I thought it was important for all of us. We don't want to take it for granted that everyone has heard about it before. Like Simon told me, I shouldn't take it for granted, because I had wanted to leave out certain aspects. He said, no, what if there are people who are hearing it for the first time? So apologies if it has been lengthy, but thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you.